Welcome to My Spoonie Sisters, featuring stories from special guests dedicated to empowering those with chronic illness. Our goal? To connect people and provide the support and tools they need to live a better life. For those with chronic illness, our energy levels just fade faster. We must be more purposeful with the spoons allotted to us. So grab your coffee or tea, sister, and tune in as My Spoonie Sisters share stories of living with chronic illness. Hi, my Spoonie Sisters. I'm your host, Gracefully Jen, and I have the pleasure of introducing to you today Matt from AI3. Hi, Matt. How are you today?
I'm great, Jen. How are you?
I'm doing all right. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why I asked you to come on here?
Sure. My name is Matt. I'm a personal trainer, a yoga teacher, a veteran, and a father. And I'm also an autoimmune warrior, suffer from chronic pain, joint pain, muscle pain. And that's what prompted me to come up with something that I could use to get back to doing the things I love doing. And that was AI3.
Okay, so I know that there was something that kind of started all this. I feel like I'm tripping over all my words, but you have a diagnosis that kind of got all this going. So what
Correct.
is that? Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I was diagnosed with osteoarthritis, but before that, my issues had started with a lot of ankle sprains as a youth, and as an adult, I became very heavy. I was always skinny and active as a child, and then after the military service, there was a period of time where I gained a lot of weight. I was living a sedentary lifestyle. I wasn't eating the best foods, and during that period, I set about a course of trying to get back into shape. And in doing so, those ankle injuries resurfaced. They went up the chain and became knee injuries. And it got so bad, the pain in my knees was so bad, I would fall down walking stairs, I'd fall down getting into a chair, and still I would continue. I was going about my own journey of losing weight. I'd become a personal trainer at the time. And so I figured through weightlifting and playing basketball every day, it was one thing I love to do, getting cardio, that I was doing I was losing weight and I was feeling better, but at the same time, my knees weren't feeling better, and my joints were beginning to act up, and I had a lot of pain. And I was diagnosed with arthritis in my ankles years before that, and then my knees got so bad where I just had to buckle down. And being a veteran, I went to the VA and got my knees checked out. It took a lot for them to give me an MRI, but when I got an MRI, I found out that I had partially torn every ligament and tendon in both of my knees, but couldn't get surgery. So the point of the matter is that I needed something to get me out of pain, because I wasn't going to stop being active. Being active helped me lose weight. It felt great. It brings joy to my life to play sports, to exercise. And that kind of set me on a journey that that led to the development of AI3. Being diagnosed with osteoarthritis, dealing with these chronic pains, and not wanting to let that limit my life.
So do you mind kind of telling what osteoarthritis is for those that aren't familiar?
Osteoarthritis is a type of arthritis where the flexible tissues at the ends of bones wear down, and over time it causes your cartilage to wear down. So in my case, it was my knees, also my elbows. I have a condition now where my radius and my ulna are fusing, and that's another story I'll get into as we keep talking. But that's a gist of what osteoarthritis is.
Okay, so with all the stuff that you've been through and things that you've tried and not wanted to try, that's kind of what spurred the idea to come up with AI3. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. And just a little bit more, like the symptoms that I deal with is just chronic soreness, chronic stiffness. And really, there was nothing out there, particularly over 10 years ago, before I even had the first inclinations to do something. I was going to different types of therapists, seeing chiropractors, I knew the VA wasn't going to offer me much. All they wanted to give me was naproxen, and they said pretty much live with it. They sent me to PT, and it was just exercises that helped a little bit, but it wasn't really helping me get back to the things I wanted to do. Also um, got into using every type of over-the-counter medication in terms of, the Flexols, the Stop Pain Now, all these joint and muscle pain formulas that really just kind of made my skin tingle. They weren't helping. They just kind of just it was very very temporary relief, if it was relief at all. And so then it got to the point to where my pain was so bad, they sent me to a rheumatologist, and rheumatologists at the VA couldn't help me. They just said, live with it, stop exercising so much, if you do it, don't do anything that causes any type of pain. And again, I wasn't going to take that for an answer. I was like, I was in my 30s. I refused to have to let this stop me or change my level of activity, any more than I had. And I'd already rested 6 months, and I adjusted my lifestyle, but I still wanted to be active. I still wanted to play sports. I wanted to play with my sons. I have two sons. One of them actually plays college basketball right now, and the other one's young and runs around the playground. So I had to be active for them. So at that point, I began. The VA put me on pain pills, and so I began taking pain medication. And I never wanted to take pain medication. And to be honest, the tramadol that they gave me, it really wasn't that effective in the first place. And I'd heard all these, bad stories about people getting addicted to pain medication and so forth, and I didn't want to be that. And so I turned to something else that it could also be potentially dangerous, but I thought was natural, and so I'd use it, and that was kratom. So I used kratom for my pain symptoms for years, and that wasn't something that I could sustain much longer either, because I didn't want to rely on a substance. I didn't want to have, quote unquote, like, be addicted to something, to have to need something every day in order to not be in pain. So I made a conscious decision to stop using that and stop using anything for pain, not even naproxen, not even if I have any kind of muscle pain. There's no Advil, nothing like that. So I needed something. And that takes us to the story of how AI3 even came about. And that was about 10 years ago. I was driving in a car, and I'll never forget where I was. And a former Philadelphia Eagle was talking about the Eagles trainer who had just passed away, and the time that he had treated Nicolas Cage's ankle sprain with something called DMSO. And I had never heard of it. And I said, what is this stuff? So I did my own research, and I was able to procure some. I had to go to a veterinary supply store because that it's not something that they sell over, and it's not marketed for pain relief. But doing some research, I found out that in the 50s and 60s, a lot of athletes were using it. In the 70s, NFL players started using it. And Sports Illustrated even wrote an article. It was entitled Mirage or Miracle, because DMSO is helping so many people with their pain, helping the athletes perform better, recover faster. And BYU even did studies on it. So it's real interesting stuff. And then all of a sudden it just disappeared. And in the 80s, when NSAIDs flooded the market, so non-steroid anti-inflammatories, your Advils, your naproxens, all of your over-the-counter stuff, and it was easier for athletes just to pop a pill. Now, we know that prescription medications and NSAIDs can have harmful effects to your liver and to your kidneys. So I didn't want to continue with that. So I looked into this DMSO stuff. I started using it on my niece, and playing basketball for hours and hours and hours, I'd get out of the car and I'd limp back into the house. And the next day I'd be limping around. Started using this, and I wasn't limping the next day. Fast forward a couple more years, one of my personal training clients, his dad, they swore by castor oil. And I'd never heard about using castor oil for any type of inflammation or castor oil packs. So I did some study, and I started using the DMSO in conjunction with the castor oil. And it would really help me. When my knees got really bad, that was my go-to. And put it on a heating pad. Next day, I feel fine. So around that time, too, I was also using and asking any of my clients they come to me with elbow pain or knee pain, or some of my yoga students, and I would recommend the DMSO. So I'd let them try my roll-on. And some of them didn't get results. And that's when I found out that only 60% of people, there's an efficacy rate of 60%, only 60% are going to get relief from DMSO. And it's the same thing with caffeine. There's a portion of the population that doesn't get any stimulant effect from that. So it was kind of disappointing. But I continued to use it for myself, and that's all I was concerned about at the moment. I found something that worked for me. Now, my knees had gotten better over the period of time. So I was able to do things again. I was able to play basketball, and I got an MRI, and that my knees, all those partial tendons, because of the training and because of my the holistic approach I took to healing myself, my all those tendons and ligaments had fused back, and I didn't have as much pain as I did. A couple more years later, I again still very active, playing in a basketball tournament. I had suffered the worst terrible ankle sprain. Um, I I was limping around for days, and that's the first time I used turmeric. Some of my clients are from India, and so they'd recommended it either drinking it as a tea or creating a paste. So I put some turmeric on the ankle sprain. Now I still have my DMSO, my castor oil, but about a month before that, a friend of mine who's a personal trainer had come up with his own formula. He's from the islands, and they use essential oils down there. And again, I had no familiarity with essential oils beyond the fact that they smell nice and was unfamiliar with their anti-inflammatory and pain relieving properties. So I used some of his stuff. I used the DMSO, the castor oil, and then I used that turmeric paste. And those were the things that I had at the time. And then I decided, like, the turmeric, within a day or two, the turmeric was staining my clothes, and so this wasn't going to be sustainable. And also, it was a pain to put all these things together and put all these treatments. So that's really when AI3 came about, and I got the idea that all these ingredients work really well. If I could just put them all together into a formula, bam, I'd have something that I could use every day. And so, ankle sprain, using all these using AI3 essentially, my ankle sprain healed much faster than I ever expected. Within 2 weeks, I was walking around much better. I was able to run again. And so I decided at that point, I was like, well, all these people that didn't get any, all my clients and students that didn't get any luck with the DMSO for relieving their pain, I'm going to let them try this AI3 that I've come up with. And so I did. And next thing you know, everybody, those people that were not getting any type of relief were getting relief. They were feeling their pains go away. And it was just a miracle to me. I was like, wow, okay, so maybe I have something here that not just works for me, but it works for other people. And that's when I got the idea to turn what I was just come up with just for my own pain and share it with the world and turn it into a company and find other people out there that have similar issues to me, and maybe it'll help them. And so far it has. And that's why I offer that 100% money back guarantee. So I've yet to find anybody that it didn't work for. And so I'm real happy that something that I looked for my own pain relief has been able to benefit others.
Well, and it definitely goes to show that you took the time to really find the right formula that would help not only yourself, but others. Because like about 10 years ago, when I got diagnosed with my RA, my husband came to me. He was like, so I know this girl and I went to school with her and she's always talking about oils. And he was kind of just laughing about it. And he's like, but you're in so much pain. Maybe it's worth a shot. We're both desperate to get you the help that you need. He's like, she's having this like get together. Do you want to go? And I kind of looked at him, and I'm like an anxious, shy person. I do not like going to things like that, especially going to some random girl's house I don't know that went to school with my husband 20 years ago. I mean, it was horrible, but I went, and they were the nicest people. And they showed me how essential oils can really help with inflammation. And so I started to try them, but I noticed a huge difference between the generic stuff I'm using. I'm just using peppermint and orange and lavender, and then what you have created. There's something there that's just giving it that extra bam that I'm not getting with just some peppermint here and there on my ankles. And, I shared with you the other day, for travel, my feet and ankles swell every time. If we go camping, if we go hiking, if I fly somewhere, boom, they're swollen every time. But I pull out my AI3, rub it on my ankles, get my feet up, and within a couple hours, I feel great.
That's awesome. So happy to hear that. Yeah, so those essential oils, again, I didn't know much about them, so I had to go on a period of self-education. I took a course in herbology. I learned which essential oils were the best for inflammation, which ones were the best for pain relief. And that's how I came up with the formula of which ones to use in particular. And then a whole bunch of beta testing over that course of a year. And being lucky enough to have a couple chemists that were clients or former clients of mine that could assist me in terms of what I was doing. Was it safe? Was it going to be effective? And so I found that lavender oil, great anti-inflammatory properties, great pain relieving properties. So I included that in there. I found out about not only um, castor oil itself being being anti-inflammatory and helping with the pain, but it acts as a carrier oil, and so does DMSO. And so that was really where the magic happened in terms of introducing then these other essential oils, like the peppermint oil that's in there, and the rosemary, and the clary sage, and the tea tree oil. That also has antimicrobial and antibacterial properties, and the eucalyptus oil. And they all come together, and see, people seem to like the smell of it, even though when I designed it, there was no intention to make it smell pretty. But a lot of those formulas that you'd get over the counter, a lot of those pain relieving ointments, some of them don't smell that great. And so I was very pleased that the ratios that we'd come up with gave off that nice smell. And not only that, they were actually effective. And particularly when it came to that one ingredient, that last one that I found out about for anti-inflammatory pain when I sprained my ankle, and that's turmeric. Again, I was saying that amount of turmeric is in AI3 is not enough to stain your clothes, but it's enough to be therapeutic. So power packing all of that with all those oils has really made a difference.
Well, and I love the fact that you can put it on. It doesn't burn. It doesn't stink. You don't have to worry about any of that. And like you said, no staining. I've made turmeric tea. My parents love to come over and visit, and they make turmeric tea. They have stained so many of my coffee mugs. I can't even tell you. It's delicious. It's great, but it stains everything. So do you feel like you have kind of a defining warrior moment for you?
Well, my defining moment, I guess, would be connecting with the community of autoimmune sufferers. And that also brings me something I failed to mention earlier, and that is in 2017, I was struck with some sort of mysterious, we still haven't figured out what exactly it was, autoimmune condition in which my ankle, my right ankle, my right elbow, and my right knee just swelled up. I was on a road trip and it involved some hiking, and that's when it really struck me. And I couldn't walk. It was so painful. And it came on within a matter of just 2 days, the swelling, the inflammation. I tried ice. I was on a road trip, so I went to different health food stores to find. I found CBD, and that's the first time I used CBD gummies. I ate the whole bag. It didn't do anything for me. It was my pain, and the kratom that I was using at the time didn't do anything. There was nothing that I could take that was going to put a dent in this pain or this inflammation. And it got so bad on that trip that I was very close to leaving my car and getting an airplane home, and then just figuring out the car situation later. But luckily, it started to subside throughout the rest of the trip, to where I could actually drive again, and I could function. And again, I went back and I got a whole bunch of series of tests from the VA, blood work and everything, to try to figure out what it was. It was a Lyme disease. I know in the weeks previous to it, I'd gone some hiking, and there was a lot of bugs, so I might have gotten bit with something with a virus, but it caused this autoimmune reaction, and it was really scary. And so again, that was sort of a defining moment, but the real defining moment for me has been connecting with the community online, yourself, and that I met, and Katina Morrison and Andy Byers. I just did a couple of their summits. I was there to support them, and it's just been amazing finding people out there that deal with these chronic, painful, debilitating conditions, and they don't let it stop them. They have ways of coping with it, and sharing and hearing their inspiring stories. That's been my defining moment.
Honestly, I cannot agree with you more. I think the more that we dive into the community and we meet more of these kind of people, everyone is so uplifting, completely supportive. It is just the best community I think we could have all not known that we needed.
Yes.
I would have given anything to have that 10 years ago. 10 years ago, when I was first diagnosed, I thought it was the end of the world. I thought I was going to turn into a 90-year-old woman, and that was my future. And, I stopped doing all the things. I wanted to join a roller derby team, and I used to be extremely active. And I stopped doing all the things because I was convinced I couldn't do them. And I think if I would have known people like Ashley and Andy and Katina and Danny and all these amazing people and yourself, I would have realized I can still do that. And I'm getting back into doing those things, but 10 years ago, I wish I would have just known that and had the ability to stay in the things I love.
Great
So
point.
as a parent, how do you manage your condition, and are your children pretty understanding with that?
As a parent, again, being able to use AI3 on my joints and pain, joint pain and aches has really helped me, not have to be limited, to tell my kids, hey, I can't play with you, or to my son, I can't play basketball with you. So, but there were times earlier when I was really dealing with a lot of knee pain that my older son, he was always understanding, but he knew that I couldn't do things, and so it was fine. And my youngest one, he's not seen that side of me where I was very heavy and unable to have that stamina to run around the playground with him. So I'm very grateful and very lucky to not have to worry about, not being able to enjoy life with my kids, be active for them.
That's wonderful. And I think it's really helpful when we're honest with our children and they understand and they can be supportive. My kids are really great about asking how I'm doing or recognizing. Sometimes they can recognize just by a look on your face that you need to slow down or take a break.
Yes.
So is there something, okay, I feel like I'm butchering this question. What is one thing your business venture did that you didn't expect?
Calling all Spoonies. As a host of a chronic illness podcast, nothing lights up my day more than hearing from you, our incredible listeners. Whether it's a topic close to your heart that you want us to uncover, or you are keen to show your own journey as a guest on our show, your voice matters. Living with chronic illness can often feel isolating, but through the power of podcasting, we can come together as a community to uplift, educate, and inspire one another. Your stories, insights, and questions drive the conversations we have and the topics we explore. So if there's something on your mind, a story that you are just itching to share, or a guest you'd love to hear from, don't hesitate to reach out. Your voice is not only welcomed here, but celebrated. Let's continue to amplify the voices of those living with chronic illnesses and create a space where everyone feels heard, supported, and empowered. Together, we are stronger.
One thing that my venture did that I didn't expect, that's really it's just impact lives. I'll get text messages, I'll get emails, or I'll get comments on Instagram page from people that really love the product and really love what it does for them and how it helps them. And I'm just amazed. Like, I'll get stories of how it helped with a migraine headache, how it helped them sleep at night. They put a little bit on their pillow. So, and just how it helped with sciatica and things that I don't have personally, but other people were finding that it helped them with, their flare-ups. So I was just shocked and amazed that something I had just kind of come up with just to help my knees has helped other people with various other problems that they're suffering from. So that's been the part where really getting that rewarding feeling of just seeing a message. That just completely makes my day and my week when I get those.
Oh, I bet. Okay, so you obviously have like a link where people can shop online from you, but do you do any kind of local vendor events?
Yes, I do. I've been doing street fairs in the last year. And then I'll do been doing wellness fairs and things of that nature because I need to get out there and I need to meet people in the community, meet people that are suffering from problems. And I've met parents who are getting it for their kids because their kids had some kind of autoimmune condition. I learned about autoimmune conditions that I didn't even know existed. So it's been very educational. And then a lot of times it'll be people buying something for their parents because they're just reluctant to use anything to help them with their pain, or they're just not getting the answers they need from the medical community, from mainstream medical establishments. So yeah, that I do. I do that as well.
Okay, so if someone's wanting to attend something like that, how could they find and follow you?
I'll just check my Instagram page. Once AI3 One Spray away on Instagram. I'll do posts on there, or just contact me via DM.
Okay. And let's see here. I know there was a question I wanted to ask that I skipped. What are the top 5 things in your Spoonie toolkit?
Okay, so I'm going to do you twice as good. I'm going to give you the top 10 things in my spooning toolkit.
Even better.
First is breathing. I read a book by James Nestor called Breathe a couple of years ago, and it really changed the way I view my life and the way I perform athletically and when I'm training or when I have to speak in front of a big group of people or if I'm going through anything stressful in my life. And that is centering myself with breath. I'll sit down and I'll just relax and I'll check my heart rate and I'll do some deep breathing. And next thing you know, my heart rate's gone down 15, 20 points. And just amazed at how much more calm I feel. And so I'd started a breathing practice in last year in the morning, first thing in the morning when I get up. And then I was doing it in between a session. I'll do it before we do a very intense training, like a sprinting or something of that nature. And I found that breathing through my nose consciously now when I'm playing sports, I'm playing soccer and basketball, my heart rate doesn't get as high. I stay calmer. I perform better in anything. So breathing is the one thing in my toolkit. Number two is meditation. Meditation's been tremendous. It also coincides with the breathing. So in order to get myself into that meditative state, I'll have to go into some deeper breathing. So I use Tumo breathing. I've used Wim Hof breathing, and I've come up kind of with my own ways of breathing that have helped me in terms of getting that calmness, the clearing of the head, clarity, and it helps with pain. When you're dealing with pain, you got to take your mind off of that pain, and you got to go somewhere inside yourself to not feel those pains and the stress that comes on, and that level of agitation that you may sometimes get, where you get cranky and irritable. You can't do the things you want to do, or you're a little on edge when you're in pain. So the meditation helps with that. Also, is number three, hot and cold therapy. So I use hot packs. I'll use heating pads. I'll use cold if I have something acute or if I have something chronic, like maybe the knee pain or lower back pain. So I will use that as well. Number four, acupuncture. So if I'll have an injury, let's say, or if I sprain an ankle, or which I haven't done in years, but if I were to have an injury or something bother me, I would go to and get some acupuncture. I find that Chinese medicine looks at the subtle energy layers, so the meridian system, so the systems where blockages occur at that point of injury, and it works to free those up. Number five, PEMF, so pulse electromagnetic frequency, something I've been using. I get mixed results with it, but I have a wand, and what that's supposed to do is it's supposed to send in these high level waves that help to reduce the inflammation and the pain that you're suffering in a certain area. Number six is yoga. Like I said, I'm a yoga teacher. Getting into yoga over 10 years ago really changed my life. It really helped me rehabilitate from a lot of injuries. Um, so that's tremendous. When I have a regular yoga practice, 2 or 3 times a week, I don't get injured playing sports. When the times where I've had the most injuries or I'll feel the most pain is when I stop doing yoga. So yoga's been very key, probably one of the most important things in this toolkit. Number seven, backwards walking. Now, that's been used in China for centuries. It's reported to have numerous health benefits. I do it on a daily basis. I usually go to a treadmill and do it, and just do it on a treadmill that's not on, because it's very therapeutic for your knees. It reduces the shear on the knees, and it also is more effective in terms of burning calories at less and using less impact and developing the quad muscles, which are really important for protecting the knees. Number eight, forest bathing. That is, I'll go out in nature. I'll go take a hike. I'll stroll on the beach. But forest bathing in particular, it's something that concept that was coined in Japan, and the negative ions of the forest and the trees or the beach or running water at a river or a waterfall, those things have a effect on our mood, and they really just enhance your mood. Number nine is qigong. Qigong, again, is a martial arts in itself, in terms of really just energy movement. We call it chi in Chinese medicine, and in prana in yoga, and that's that energy or that life force, that vital essence inside of us. And performing qigong or tai chi, what that does is it gets all of those energies flowing properly, and it also helps with joint pain. It helps with stress, anxiety. When I do so, I'll stop and I'll do my qigong for 10 minutes, and then I feel so much better. I'll just feel so much more calm. And then last thing, number 10 would be AI3. And that's it. That's my toolkit.
That sounds like a great toolkit. So, okay, I've got a question for you. For those that deal with high levels of anxiety, would you recommend, a lot of honestly a lot of these things on your Spoonie toolkit, because I'm thinking like the breath work, the meditation, all of that could be really useful with people that have anxiety.
Yes, absolutely. I highly recommend studying into that, and looking into breathing, looking into to taking yoga, to meditating, to learning qigong. Those are things that help with those levels of anxiety that are associated with pain, and they also help to reduce the symptoms of your pain because you're moving. You're sending blood flow, and blood flow throughout the body stimulates the healing process.
That's a really good point. Okay, I think I've covered all the questions I have for you, but is there anything that we haven't discussed that you think we should talk about that's important?
Um, just taking a holistic approach to your problems. Taking a holistic approach, looking at various modalities, using those modalities to handle your pain, being part of a community, staying active. It's very easy to just sit on the couch and not do anything, but to move is to live, and movement is life. And if you're being static and you're sitting there and you're not moving, you're not living. And just being present. So being present, that's what's taught me, for not using pain, anything for my pain, has taught me to be present, taught me to feel my pain and to just live through my pain, and just work through it, and not let it stop me from doing anything. And that's been the big thing. And I guess one more thing is where you can find me: AI3 at One Spray Away on Facebook and Instagram, and One Spray Away on Twitter, and the main website, www.onesprayaway.com.
Wonderful. And what I will make sure to do is I'm going to add your Spoonie toolkit, and I'm going to add all your links, everything into the show notes so people can easily click and find you and all the things.
Great. And don't forget to put your link for a 10% discount on AI3.
Absolutely. So, all right. Thank you so much for joining. And all right, listeners, until next time, don't forget your spoon.
The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. The information should not be taken as a replacement for medical, clinical, professional advice, diagnoses, or medical intervention. My Spoonie sisters and guests will not be held liable for any of the consequences of such action or inaction. Trigger warning. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics including, but not limited to, suicide, abuse, mental illness, and chronic disease. You are advised to refrain from listening if you are likely to be offended or adversely impacted by any of these topics. None of the guests or hosts will be responsible for your use of the information contained therein. Life is not merely to be alive, but to be well. Living a life with a chronic illness is best described with one word: unpredictable. Be Well's products are designed to make the unpredictable easier to deal with. Back when I was getting my infusions, I would have loved to have their adult zip hoodie. They even have one in pink. They also have everything from one-day pill holders to urgency buckets. So remember, they want to make your life a little easier. So be sure to check out Be Well.